All right. Hello and welcome. I hope everyone is having a fantastic April the 22nd, 2024. You may notice that I am up here alone. Just to start off with, Jeff is here. He will be joining us in just a moment. But before I brought on Jeff, I want to say hi to everyone. And then I want to let y'all know about some kind of major stuff that has happened in my life this past weekend. Not on a Monday. I know I usually say Mondays are like so weird, crazy things happen. But it wasn't on a Monday this time. So last week I was out of town. Thank you everyone for bearing with me, as you know, summertime is busy time. And so we're not always able to do the stream. Josh Street is saying no sound. I don't believe you, Josh. I don't. I don't, because I checked beforehand. Yes, there is sound. And Thomas saying Troy is a better pilot. I bet that's talking about something else up in the chat that I haven't seen. But hey to everyone. Professor Brain Specs is here. Tokyo Gaijin, how are you doing? Josh Street, glad you are here. Thomas Potts, Melphasis Guy, Iffy FSX, and Bradley Briggs. And I believe I also saw an LDG waving in the chat. How you doing, LDG? And Bird of Prey 5, Kapla. Glad you are doing well. So, what's the big news? What's the life-changing events that's going on in my life? So, Saturday, April the 20th, was my wife's birthday, and we woke up expecting to have a pleasant Saturday as we celebrated and got on with things. And I'd hoped to repair my sprinklers, but it was raining, so that was out of the window. And I was thinking maybe I'd go over to my mom's house and her new place, and they have pre-existing Ethernet wiring everywhere, but it doesn't follow any standard. They just did like straight wiring across the board, and so it doesn't work. Like you can't get good throughput through there. It's constantly dropping. Just no good there. But as we're starting to get our morning going, I got a call from my big brother, and he said, Matt, I got bad news. My first thought was, oh no, one of my nephews has been in a car wreck or they've been injured somehow, because he's not just going to call me up at 7:30 to tell me he stubbed his toe. And what it ended up being is that my other brother, so I have my big brother who lives out of state, and I have my middle big brother who lives in state, but I mean, it's Texas, so it's practically a different state. And my other brother, Andrew, he died. He died quite unexpectedly in his sleep. So he died peacefully. We suspect it was a heart attack. We do have a family of heart issues in my family, but it was quite unexpected. Obviously, he had gone to sleep in his office because he had to get up early the next day, and his family was out there doing like a lock-in at the church. It was going to be a fun time. So they get back home, he's already asleep, and then the next morning they're like, oh, he hasn't woken up. Oh no, he slept in through his alarm. So they go in to wake him up, and they found that he was dead. And she called up a neighbor. Neighbor tried CPR, but he was already cold by that point. And so, that's what's going on. And there's a certain amount of unreality to the whole situation. My brother and I, we loved each other a lot, but neither one of us were phone talkers. In fact, he didn't even like have a regular phone. He had a flip phone, because he knew that if he had the flip phone, people would be less likely to text him on the phone. So we weren't big phone talkers. And so he's passed, but like, since it's not immediately relevant, or relevant's not the right word, I'm going to be fumbling a little bit. But so it's not like immediately impactful to my day-to-day life. There's a certain amount of like, it doesn't really exist. And so the full weight of it hasn't quite hit me yet. But we're going to go down there this week for the funeral. And so what I want to do is, before I put the link to StreamYards, let me go ahead and put this link in here, and I'm just going to pin it for a minute. I'm also going to include it down in the description. What this is my sister-in-law has set up or my sister-in-law's sister has set up a GoFundMe for them. And this is to things like the funeral costs and all the stuff that comes with that. And also just for college that's coming up. One of my oldest niece was starting to think about college. I mean, she's not at that age yet, but she is, getting to the age where it's starting to be something she has to think about. I'm getting static noise. Let me listen real quick here, if I can remember how to use my own setup. Oh, you know what? It looks like virtual meter, it died out. So that's what it is. Give me just a second. I'll get this fixed, guys. Thank you for letting me know. That should be... Okay. Is that better to everyone? Okay. Yep. There we go. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, voice meter. I don't know what I said there. Yeah, I used voice meter potato. It looks like it crashed maybe. But there it goes. So anyway, it's there to cover just this immediate intern of trying to figure things out. And by all means, please be praying for my family. They're going through a hard time. Thankfully, I'm so thankful for my wife, Amy. As soon as my wife, Amy, heard the news, she was immediately in tears. I hear the news and my first thought is, okay, what do I need to do right now? What's the most important thing that has to happen? Do I need to be heading down to where he lives right away? I need to be heading over to my mom. My mom's going to be suffering. And so it's, that's where my mind goes. My mind doesn't go to grief. And also I understand my mind is weird. It doesn't operate the way most people's minds do. And so it takes a while for grief to sit in with me. But so that's what's going on. He was a good brother. I'll miss him. But the thing, another reason like I'm just not inconsolable. My brother knew who he believed in. Like my brother was a strong Christian man. And there's no doubt in my mind that on his death, he stood before the Lord because he understood the fundamental truth that he was a sinner, that his sins demanded punishment, and that Christ paid the death for his sins on the cross. Because of that, it's sad. I'm going to miss him. It's going to be disappointing I don't get to see him again this life, but it's not like I'm not going to be able to ever see him again. So by all means, send us your prayers. If you're able to support, please do so. Like I said, I'll replace the pin message over in the chat in just a minute. And then I'll also include in the description if you want to do the GoFundMe. And thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I thought about not doing this tonight because honestly, I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to lay this heavy news on everyone, and then we're going to watch Babylon 5. That's going to go great. But that's exactly what we're going to do. And Tokyo, thank you so much for keeping me in your prayers. And yes, Tokyo, he was a Christian. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. It's, I recognize how blessed I've been that my dad raised me to think critically about things. My dad, he read us the Bible every day. It was part of our family routine, but it wasn't something where if I didn't believe it, and there were times in my life where I was not the best of sons, let's put it that way. And I walked away from the Lord. My dad never punished me for not being a strong Christian. My dad never punished me for doubting the validity of my faith. My dad was always there supporting me, and he was there supporting my brothers who went through the same stuff, I'm sure. And so it was something that my dad believed in, yes, but then it was something that I got to examine for myself and decide whether or not this is what I believe as well. And I certainly do believe it. And that's something I'm very thankful for, because I know there's a lot of people who grow up in religious families you're just beaten down if you're not towing the line. And I think I don't think that breeds a love for religion. I think that breeds a love for legalism, and it breeds a disdain for religion. And so I'm very thankful that that's not the environment I grew up in. So thanks for listening to all this, guys. Next week we'll still be doing this. I don't think I have anything on the immediate schedule for a lot of the summer. Come June, I'm going to be out of town one more time. But for the next several weeks, guys, I think we get to hang out. I think we get to watch some more Babylon 5. So with all that, let me go ahead and bring Professor Brainy Specs up here. And I'm going to try and give him just a second, because I don't want to be like, I'm bringing Jeff up here, and then him immediately be like, I was not ready for this at all. So So I'll give him just a second here. In Texas, I couldn't agree more. God wants people to choose to serve him, not to be forced to serve him. Forced service is not service at all. It's slavery, and that is not what we've been called to. We've been called to freedom through Christ. So let me go ahead and bring Jeff up here. I'm gonna add myself to the backstage, and let's bring on in Professor Brainy Specs. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. A little tired, Matthew, but it's good to see you. I thought I was in a black hole for a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Most sincere condolences, Matthew, to you and to your family. We're all here for you if you need to talk, if you need anything. We want to
I
be
really
there for
appreciate
you
that.
and do that.
In fact, great. So growing up, I was constantly mistaken for Andrew, my brother who just died, like nonstop. Like we had baby photos, and not just baby photos, but like up through age 8, and my parents don't know if it's me or Andrew in these photos. Like in fact, there's one today that my mom handed me, and she's like, "Hey Matt, we're doing this collage thing for the funeral, little slideshow." And I'm like, Mom, this is a picture of me. She's like, no, that's Andrew. That's Andrew. I'm like, no, this is a picture of me. We went down to Big Ben. It's when I illegally crossed the American border, and I went into Mexico.
You
And
lawbreaker, you.
I did. You know what? So this is a great story, and I can share this because it was me, and I was underage, so I don't like nothing we can do there. And it was my brother, who's dead now, and it was my dad, who's also dead. So legally, I'm pretty sure we're off the hook for this one. There's no one who can be held accountable for any of this stuff anymore. But we went down to Big Bend, Texas, and there's the river, Guadalupe. I'm saying I can't even think of the river that surrounds my own state. I've gone blank. The Rio Grande.
Rio
Excuse
Grande.
me. Yeah, I kept trying to say the Guadalupe because we did a tubing down that, but no. The Rio Grande, and there is a Mexican on our side of the river. He said, "Do you want to go across?" And my dad said, "Yes, we'd love to." So we went across illegally. We entered Mexico illegally, and he said, "You can take the border or you can walk." And so we walked to this little village across the border, and it was the Pueblo houses. Like it was an old bar, complete with the swinging doors. And we went in there and we got some water. And it was a several-mile hike. It was not just around the corner like we had been led to believe. But so there's a picture of me on the horseback, and they're like, "Well, it's your brother." No, not my brother. It was me. So I told this in Discord, but I get a phone call or a text message. Excuse me. I get a text message from my friend David. He said, "Matt, hey, just so you know, another friend of mine, Jack, he called me up, extremely distraught." Because he thought you were the one that died. So apparently at my old church, so I'm a part of a church plant, and the church that sent us, there are people that when they heard that Andrew died, they thought me. And so they're going around telling people that Matthew died. And this got back to one of our friends, and he's calling up people like, "Oh, I'm so sad Matthew died." I'm like, no, I'm alive still. It is the one I look like. My brother, he's the one that died. So even in death, people are still mixing me up for Andrew. I don't think I'm ever going to be free of this.
You probably won't because, people get my dad and I mixed up all the time.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, why not? So I like you, I also look like my dad. And I see people at my old church, they'll do like double takes for a second. Because they're like, "Wait, Daryl's dead. Why is Daryl here? There's a ghost." No, it's just his son. Everyone can stand down.
Funny how genetics works.
Yeah, iffy. I'm sure people confuse you with Brad Pitt all the time. Just that rugged handsomeness. And Iffy is also saying you got a promotion there. Oh, you had a. You had
Well,
question of Trek, didn't you?
I'm Admiral Brains on a question of Trek, and I accidentally had the wrong graphic up, so I had to switch it in OBS. So I don't know if it's a promotion or demotion. Admiral to professor, is that a promotion?
Melphis Sky wants to know if I'll be able to recognize the Trek actor in this episode. Which one? Uh, there were
Yes, more
several.
than one.
So we're gonna go over all that as they come up, and let me go ahead and swatch this out. Everyone, hang tight, guys. It's
We'll
gonna.
watch it.
Although, I mean, let's be fair. I certainly don't. I'm not the most educated of speakers in the best of times, so I can't blame everything on this.
I'm not either.
Okay, there we go. I switched out the pin message. Like I said, if you do want to support the GoFundMe for my brother, it'll be down in the description after this video. I'll go back and add it. If I don't, just message me in the video, everyone, so I can remember to do that. Excuse me, message me in the comments. But the way this works, everyone, if you're new here and you just stumbled upon this because YouTube takes you crazy places, welcome. Heavier introduction than usual. Thanks for sticking around this far. But I just dropped a link to the screening room. And the way this works is during this stream, while it's live, and only while it's live, you can join us in the screening room and we can all watch this episode of Babylon 5 together. If you want to watch Babylon 5 up on your screen, because we have a friend, Patrick, and he watches this later. And so what he gets to do is he puts up Babylon 5 up on his big screen. And then he watches Jeff and me doing our live commentary from a tinier screen. He has a great setup, not at all jealous of his beautiful tiled flooring that he has. Like, did you see that photo?
Yes, I have.
It's gorgeous. I'm not at all extremely jealous of that.
I can tell.
Thomas, I got a good education. But you want to watch it on a big screen, you're here later, so you can't come to the screening room with us. What you're going to have to do is watch your own copy of this. And you can do this on Amazon. You can pay for it. And ideally, it will be ad-free. But I know Amazon's been doing some shenanigans recently, putting ads back in their... Because, who doesn't want to pay for their special service and still get ads?
I think Disney's doing it too, aren't they?
I think so. And I get it. Like, okay, Jeff, we're in the older group of people, increasingly so. And do you remember when you'd pay for cable services precisely so you wouldn't get ads?
Well, some channels, yes.
So I remember
channels, but
I remember that being a big deal when we first got the Disney Channel. They didn't do ads on the Disney Channel. Like, that was the whole point of it. You would pay a subscription fee specifically to get this special channel, no ads. And then I guess at some point they're like, you know what? We're idiots. We should just bundle everything, slam these people with commercials, and still get the advertising money. I feel like internet streaming is just doing the exact same thing now.
I think they're actually losing money, and that's why they're doing it.
Oh, I bet. Just hand over foot. I mean, have you seen the quality of the shows they put out? Whew.
I have, and it's not that great, is it? Some of them are good. Some are good.
Also, how about that for getting me distracted myself? I was in the middle of telling people how to do this, and I got distracted by ads. So you can watch this on Amazon with ads, maybe ad free. Yeah, exactly. Or you can watch this on Tubi, also with ads, I do believe.
Yes.
Or if you don't want ads and you love the series, you can get the Blu-rays, which they go on sale frequently-ish. When they're on ish. See, I have to put in the ish because as soon as I say it goes on sale all the time, it's not going to go on sale till like Thanksgiving or something. But since we started doing this, it's been on sale twice.
Right.
For $79.99, I want to say.
I think it was $74.99.
$74.
The last time. I mean,
that's the entire series.
5 seasons. And 110 episodes plus.
And did it include the movies? Oh, it did.
Well, one movie. The Gathering,
Okay.
the
Which
pilot.
you'll explain more about the movies as we get there.
We got a ways to go for that.
We
Season
do.
4.
Okay. So that's your options, and if you just by any chance you don't want to, you, you just want to have like, hey, here's me and Jeff, we're doing this live commentary. Uh, you enjoy how distracted I get chasing after squirrels. We got you covered. Down below, right here-ish. There we go. Right there. We are going to include a single still image as we talk about things. So every about 9-ish seconds, there is going to be just a brief little, here's an image, and it's going to stay there until the next image pops up. And that way you just have a reference for what we're talking about. But at the same time, it seems like once about every 7 seconds, it's more like 9 seconds. So it's up there for 7 and then it takes a second or two to transition. Whatever. That seems to be the spot at which the copyright holders don't get mad at me for doing this. Because, I really love getting to do this. I want to keep doing this. And the best way to do that is make sure that the people who legally own this, we're not ruining it for them. Because I don't want to illegally distribute this stuff. That's not my goal in doing this. The goal is for us all to have fun talking about these episodes. And the best way of doing that is just have a little reference there with no sound. Josh, this is the one time I want there to be no sound on my stream. We don't want to hear the episode. Otherwise, obviously we'd get in trouble. So this is just a way for us to go to the screening room if you want to watch it during this stream. That way we can all just sync up our watch times together. So with all that said, let's talk about what I thought this episode was going to be about. I actually forgot to look. Things have been going on today. But as I recall, I had 2 guesses. And one of them was that this is going to be a Space Odyssey 2001 situation. My goodness, it's full of stars. The sky's full of stars. And that we're going to see the aliens again that, look at us like ants, as Jakar so eloquently put it. And after thinking about it, and as we were discussing this at the time, I decided that no. While that's certainly a possibility, I don't think that's where they're going to go. Instead, I think they're going to follow along this theme of militant nationalism. That we are humans first, Earth for humanity. And I think we're going to be following along with that plot line that they've been setting up for the past several episodes, at the very least. And we're going to see kind of this rampant patriotism, well, quote unquote patriotism, as we see the movement growing. I say patriotism, but I mean, it's really just xenophobia.
I guess we're going to find out real soon here, aren't we?
I guess we are.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting theories, Matthew.
Thank you. We'll see how right I am. So far, haven't been overly right in my guesses. I had one episode that I nailed. It feels so good when I get it right.
You did really well there.
I did. I did. Honestly, I enjoy trying to do this because of how wrong I get this stuff. But I really do enjoy it when just by chance I make a great guess.
Well, you're a good sport.
So let's go ahead. And Thomas already told me I was wrong. I do remember that.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah. He says, I forget what he said, but it was very obviously not the actual plot for the episode.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll see. True. So if you're with us, hopefully you've had time to get to the screening room. If you're not with us, I'll give you a quick countdown and then we will get this started. So hit that play button in 3, 2, 1, and play. By all means, please let me know if this ends up being a little too loud there. Or ends up being on this stream at all. Okay, so I don't recognize. I think this is the guy named Young, not the one it focused on right there. The one coming through security. I think his real life name is something Youngs, and I didn't recognize him from anything. Like apparently he's
Actually,
been
isn't.
on. What's that?
Actually, his name is Christopher Neame,
Okay, not at all what I thought. There's some guy named Youngs that I didn't recognize.
and he's
Christopher.
been on Star Trek.
He's been on multiple Star Trek series, right?
Yes,
Like
and the other guy was on Star Trek too.
okay, yes, the other guy I actually did recognize. The minute I saw his face, I said that is a familiar face. That is Khan's not son, but a henchman of Khan's. I saw someone
Yeah,
saying,
his second, basically.
yeah. But then I also found out
Joachim. Joachim.
that that character who played Joachim,
Joachim.
he was also like a Romulan
Yeah,
on Voyager, I want to say.
was. And he was also in Next Generation. First season episode, Symbiosis.
Oh, yes, the episode about drugs.
Yes.
Uh, so they pull up a holographic image of the commander and say, when are we going to take him out? So clearly, I say clearly, I don't know clearly. What I suspect is that this is a retaliation against what happened 2 weeks ago.
So I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. Christopher Neame, something like that. He was in Star Trek twice. In Voyager, he played Unferth in the Beowulf simulation and Heroes and Demons, and he also played a German soldier in Enterprise, the two-parter Stormfront and Stormfront Part 2.
Okay. Now the Khan guy, Tokyo is saying that there's only one Romulan on Voyager, and yes, well, the episode "Message in a Bottle" is the Romulan
Yep.
that he played. However,
Yep.
there was another episode with Romulans, and that was the one with the Prometheus. Wasn't
Same episode, isn't it?
no, because in "Message in a
Message in a
Bottle"
Bottle.
wasn't that the one where he went back and they got the wormhole? And
Oh,
maybe those are two different episodes. I thought Message in the Bottle was the one where there was like a micro wormhole and it ended up
no.
like they shot the buoy through and it got wedged in a space eddy. And it ended up being a time dilation thing where they were talking to a Romulan in the past.
No. Message in a Bottle is when they sent the Doctor into the Alpha Quadrant onto the Prometheus.
Ah, John, you're both right. I'm thinking of Eye of the Needle. Yes, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so this Benson guy, he was just in the room with Khan Jr., right? Or
Well, he was kind of getting roughed up by some sketchy characters.
okay, they all look alike to me. They're wearing
Wow.
I mean, these white guys they got the slick back hair going on. They're wearing the same gray uniforms.
Racist against white people.
It's allowed. It's allowed.
I guess so. So he owes bad people a lot of money for gambling debts.
And that's what they're concerned about. That if he gets in debt with the wrong people, which he is, he can become quite the security risk.
Yep.
Togi is saying they'll actually promote the video. And yeah, they all look alike. Not surprising for Mr. Code of Honor, I suppose. Yes, it has been mentioned several times that I did, in fact, say my favorite season 1 TNG episode was Code of Honor. I wish I could say that those sentences weren't truth, but they were truth.
So everybody lies, according to Sinclair, for different reasons.
Okay, so they need a power source, but they couldn't get past the stations. And Mr. Security Risk, I think he's going to be their solution to that little conundrum. Personally, I think he probably could have just powered it with some lemons or a potato. I mean, they got to have better energy technology in the future.
You would think so.
And good old doctor, don't help me because I remember it is related to your name.
It is.
I just want to say Specs now. I can do this, Franklin, Dr. Franklin.
Stephen,
No relation. Uh,
no relation. As far as I
he
know.
he was happy to be able to do a checkup for Mbari. He's like, usually I only get to do this when there's something extremely wrong. And she wants to know if he was involved in the war. I mean, that's an interesting thing. They don't talk about it too much, but there's got to be some bad blood here and there. Well, I mean,
His,
besides everyone on the Earth Defense League.
his answer is interesting.
So he was involved in biological warfare, studying it.
They asked him to provide information on the Mimbari to use in biological warfare. And he destroyed his notes. He refused.
So he asks her in response, "Well, what did you do during the war?" And she goes, "Well, that's a topic for another time. Good day." Let's see, Tokyo, he's saying, "Are we mistaken? I recognize a little bit of the guy who was supposed to play Zahn and did play the commander in Epsilon 9 from the motion picture, but he can't remember his last name. David Gyaradox, something like that? Or Gyratro is what John is saying. I'm butchering that last name. There is a lot of letters in that last name. French looking letters.
Indeed.
That doesn't look like a fun chair.
And Tokyo, to answer your question, I did look up the information before the stream tonight. So unless the information on two different sites was wrong.
So Sinclair having some flashbacks to the war. I'd be guessing right now. Or not he's dreaming about it. So I think that's our first look at an Mbari ship.
This is the Battle of the Line. Now, the actor that plays Mitchell was also in Star Trek. He was crewman Jarvan in Voyager's Parallax.
That's right. He's the one that told Chakotay that they were behind him, whatever he chose to do, and Chakotay decked. No. He said it in the hallway. Chakotay decked someone else. And then he was also the character that Chakotay was guessing would stay behind in the 37s episode. Because he had just started a relationship with someone from like quantum engineering or quantum something or other. And he figured he'd want to settle down and start a family. But obviously, everyone stayed aboard the ship.
Hmm. So what's going on? But he's answering.
I mean, you'd think the head of the station could get a call through. Also, I just imagine getting that communicator off in real life would have really hurt. I mean, the first couple times when you still had some hairs to rip off.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that.
Janeway probably killed him also. Janeway didn't kill everyone. She got most of the people home.
Wow, Thomas.
Also, that's an oddly deserted station.
Yeah,
But I like
lights are
seeing the
off.
flower stand. Yeah, if he just Tuvix. Oh, a text is saying it did. In a later episode, Garibaldi complains about that, saying his hair doesn't grow back anymore. The communicator.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Jerry Baldy was not supposed to wear the link on his head. Is that why he has a widow peak going on?
Jerry Boldy.
Okay,
Nothing's
so
working. Oh, oh.
suddenly everything comes online. So interestingly, this is kind of one of those common tropes that you see throughout sci-fi series. The character suddenly isolated or becoming increasingly isolated as the episode goes on.
We saw
TNG,
that with Kirk and TOS.
which
I'm
episode?
sorry. The title is escaping me, and I'm sure John is going to tell me in the chat.
Because I was going to say, I remember the TNG episode where Beverly goes through that.
Yeah, that was Remember Me, where everybody was disappearing.
Thomas says, way to
Kirk,
Eden.
Kirk was on a replicated Enterprise on the planet.
John is saying maybe the Mark of Gideon.
Sounds right, John.
And then I feel like there's a Deep Space Nine episode that kind of had the same thing going on.
Yeah, I think it was with Bashir.
Yeah. Growing increasingly old.
Mm-hmm. So there were some interesting headlines in that newspaper.
I was too busy being distracted by a squirrel. But here we are with everyone back on the station, and the Mimbari ambassador, uh, Delin.
Belen.
She's talking, or she's mentioning that she hasn't seen the commander Sinclair in quite a while, and now
She was
Garibaldi.
supposed to meet him an hour prior.
And then I don't know if you ever watched the show called Eureka, but there's also an episode of Eureka that did the same thing.
Long time ago, and I don't remember that episode.
So he's his body's somewhere else, but all this is just uh, a psychic simulation. So he the interrogator brings up Garibaldi just to shoot him. If only it had been Sean Bean. So Has this guy said that he's part of the Psi Corps yet?
No, he has not.
Because I'm assuming that this isn't just all technology. This seems like they're playing off. This is another ability of the Psi Corps that by placing him in this chair and putting these drugs in him, they're able to use their abilities to mold the reality around him. Like they haven't come out and said it yet. I'm just kind of making an assumption at this point.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's see if you're right.
Thomas is saying that he liked Eureka, but not as much as Warehouse 13. I like them. I like them both quite a lot.
Actually, I like Eureka a little better.
Those are actually two series that Amy would watch with me because there's just enough of a romance angle in both of them for her to be engaged in what was going on through the weird stuff. And so they're saying it's interesting. We have all the memories of your life to play with, and yet your thoughts are rooted right here on this station. It must mean a lot to you, doesn't it? Good question. Why are we doing this? It's saying 10 years ago you were at the Battle of the Line, and then for 24 hours you were out of touch. And says that's where you testify that you blacked out, but they're here to figure out if there's more. They want they want the knowledge of those 24 hours. There's a hole in his mind.
Good callback.
And see, I'm like I'm like Sam Beckett. My mind's like Swiss cheese. There's so many holes in it. Thomas is saying so. Babylon 5 stole the idea of communicators? No, it's just that's just common space stuff. So he's reading off his Wikipedia page for Sinclair.
Pretty much.
And he's a family man of officers, generational officers. So
Just one
sorry.
question. How did they get him out of his quarters?
Yeah, great question. How did they get him out of his quarters? And because they don't have transporters, as far as I'm aware.
Oh,
That worked with Bashir, but it's not going to work here. It's a trap. What reference did you miss, John?
I think he's talking to Tokyo.
Hmm. So Mitchell, the guy who fought alongside Sinclair, he's saying, "Why did you betray us? Why did you kill me?" He said, "We swore we'd fight to the last man, and yet you're alive, and we're all dead." So they said, "Well, you must have betrayed him." Now Sinclair is pointing out, he's dead. You're just playing with my mind, but um, there So he's going in for a kamikaze run, but something happened. And they're not overly talking about the interrogation method they're using. Like they showed they did some lightning stuff to him, um, but it's interesting that they they have disclosed up front that this is all in your mind, that none of this is really happening, that we can torture you by uh, killing people in front of you over and over and over again, and yet this is still effective. Like you would think that if you knew that none of this was real, that'd create an immediate disconnect and you wouldn't care anymore.
Well, I think the drugs are working on him too.
Yeah. But Sinclair has realized that pain works for anyone in this cybernetic landscape. And Delin is asking, have you thought about using Tally, the telepath?
Tell you.
And he's saying, well, she's only a P5. That means she has to be in close physical proximity. But she's not a P5 anymore. We saw that a couple weeks ago. That the final gift of her ex professor and boyfriend was to give her a level up.
But did it raise her from a P5 or did it just give her telekinesis powers?
Good point. They haven't
We don't
addressed
know.
that.
Haven't. Now, the main interrogator, they're going by the name Knight 2. He was originally going to be played by Walter Koenig. And
Ah.
Walter Koenig had the heart attack and couldn't do it. And they actually filmed that episode later, but played it earlier in airing order.
Huh. Oh, so she. Hmm. So by the script, she would still be a P5 at this point in time.
As far as we know.
I mean, because they had to air things a little bit switched around.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. That episode was supposed to take place when it did.
Okay.
I'm just talking about when Walter Koenig was going to appear as this character. He couldn't because he had the heart attack and was recovering.
Gotcha.
But the episode that he did appear in as Bester, they recorded later, but aired it earlier. Well, I see where you're going with that, but
yeah, but no, I'm following you. I'm following you.
that episode was played when it was supposed to in
Air.
story
Yeah.
order.
Hey, Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. And hey, Mike Who's 4, how you doing?
And you're right, Ifley. I don't know about best heart attack ever, but it was very a good side benefit, I suppose, because he got the better role by far.
But Night 2, as you were saying, he was saying that the more time he spends in Sinclair's mind, the more convinced he is that he's hiding something. And I dare say we just met the Grey Council. Thomas, it's the library cult.
Thomas sees library cults everywhere. I would just ignore him. He's been brainwashed by the bunny. Bye bye.
Okay, so probably not psychic stuff. It seems all tech based. Yeah, carrying around him in Bari's soul, his Katra. So night two, he was saying we all hide stuff, and this is why you keep bouncing back here. It's kind of like he envisions Babylon 5 as his safe place. But we're gonna find out what else you're hiding.
Thomas, I don't think ghosts have anything to do with it.
But we see Sinclair flexing his hand over and over again, trying to get some touch with reality.
I know, Josh. I struggle with that every day. Oh, I want to tell Matthew this. I want to tell Matthew that. But I don't want to spoil it.
They're saying for the last time, what happened at the Battle of the Line? And Sinclair, he's saying the same thing. You know, I I planned on ramming it. I sped up. There's a flash. I blacked out. I woke up 24 hours later, and the war is over.
But why was it over?
He's saying he was off the well, they call them screens, but radar. He was off the radar for 24 hours. And he's saying, well, the hearing proved that the screens malfunctioned.
Thomas, I think you had the wrong series there. Tokyo. Wrong series, my friend.
that was uh that was the episode with Wharf on trial, was it not?
I believe that's what Tokyo is referring to. Rules of Engagement, I believe, was the title.
That sounds right. Which I loved that final dressing down Cisco gave Worf. You know, after so ardently defending Worf the entire time, just be like, okay, now that your life isn't on the line, it's time to address where you went wrong. And so night two, his basic argument here is the Mbari saw our defenses and knew they could have wiped us out, but they said, what was the point in risking our own lives when we could attack from within? And Sinclair is saying, you know, and then they imply that he's basically like a sleeper agent or a defector. And Sinclair is saying, for years after that, I had to fight the urge to strangle every Nimbari I saw. And he says, you say we could have won, but you weren't there. You didn't see them. You didn't see how outclassed we were. He's saying the Imbari could have wiped out the whole human race. And he said, I don't know why they didn't do it. Maybe the universe blinked. Maybe God intervened.
There you
There
go,
you go.
Matthew. You said it earlier.
So, it. the interrogator was saying there's really nothing your entire life that has made you doubt if you really blacked out for 24 hours. And Sinclair says, no, nothing except. And then we get the flashback. You have a hole in your mind.
I
And
don't
so
know if the
the
drugs are talking here or if Sinclair really wants to remember and has taken the opportunity of doing that.
so we're seeing the same kind of flashback we've seen a couple times. And Mitchell, he goes in. I can take them. I've got a clear shot. And we see him take the shot, but it doesn't look very effective.
Well, most of their battles were not effective in the war.
I mean, they look incredibly outclassed. A single laser strike is taking out each of these ships. Saying, not like this. If I'm going out, I'm taking you with me. I mean, I don't know how effective his ship would be pulling a holo maneuver here, but
They're in a desperate situation here. Everybody on Earth is going to get wiped out if they don't win this battle.
then there's a red laser, and it did not look like it came from the Mbari ship. I mean, I don't know if that was a error, but it definitely looked like it came from a different plane than the ship in front of him. And then he gets tractored in, and he gets to see how many lights there are.
Wrong series.
I see 3 so far.
And what is that device?
And yeah, Texas, calling in a war is being generous, clearly. Which I actually saw a great point today about that episode, that you never see the lights at the very end of the episode. When he says, how many lights do you see? You see Picard looking at them, but from that point on, you don't actually see how many lights there are, just to add to the ambiguity of you know the word I'm going for. Ambiguity. There we go. The
Sorry, I'm
ambiguity of
watching
the situation.
watching the story.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But yeah,
Breaking loose.
yeah, thank you, Toga. Ambiguity. Um, he uh, he walks up to one of them and says, "I know who you are," and then in his mind he gets blasted from behind, uh, and that lets him break free somehow. And it seems like him breaking free causes a feedback against Night Two, and he's able to take Night One by surprise and get out of there.
He hits Night 2.
He gets a drop on him.
Yeah. And Sinclair thinks he's still on the Mimbari vessel.
Oh, okay. See, I heard him say that, but I didn't make the connection. He still thinks he's in his last memory.
He's trying to find his ship and get away.
Good thing he's a little woozy right now.
Yeah. Although that didn't help her in the end.
He's not woozy. But it also doesn't make a lot of sense for him to have done that right there. I mean, maybe they make more sense in a minute here. Josh is saying, Matthew,
So,
you should know who it is too. Are you talking about Khan Jr. over there?
no, I think he's talking about the figure on the Minbari ship that he knows.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I put it together as Deline.
Delenn.
Delenn. Dolores. I know it's Dolores, okay? Uh,
Dolores. Oh, she's got a new name now. Dolores.
um, Delenn. I know it's Delenn. Like we've kind of talked about how she was on the Grey Council. Um, and there's her aide was curious why she was here, but they've left that as a bit of a mystery still. And he's saying, "I know you. I know who you are."
Oh, Dolores. You forgot your
Dolores,
name.
Ambassador Dolores. And I can't tell.
And
I can't tell if Dolores is starting to worry that he's remembering. Like if she was somehow able to tell, or like it seems like somehow she's able to recognize or instinctively understand what was going on.
yeah, I haven't thought about that in this story. She does seem to know what's going on for some reason.
I mean, if the Mbari aren't, let's say, low level psychics, then it could be just that she's aware of, like, oh, hey, I recognize these signs. Or, I mean, ideally, they would come out and tell you this stuff. Like, it's not great for us to make up a bunch of fan theories, but I could definitely see her getting word about who was on the station through her own contacts and understand what they were trying to do. Oh, he didn't die.
No, he didn't. But his brain's about fried. Night one did die.
Yes, he got shot. Tokyo, you never told me your name. Murphy, Batman, Robocop. Who would you like me to be?
Dolores. Oh, you remembered a little bit.
He said, "There's something in my head." It says, "It says maybe you're still inside. Maybe we're both still inside." Yes, Ifly, this guy now has a giant hole in his mind.
Yeah, that's a good description. And yes, that's right, Ifley. Sinclair has recovered some of his memories.
Oop. I almost paused it. I thought we were at the credits. Babylon 5
Oh,
tricks me like that.
it can be tricky.
Like it always has one more scene more than I think it's going to have. And I think I'm so used to the act structure of Star Trek that I just immediately am like, okay, that was the end of the act. That's the end of the show. And she says, Commander, out of curiosity, do you remember anything from your experience? And we see quite clearly he remembers something, but he says no, sorry. It's interesting. I mean, we'll talk about this in a second, but and it says so this new guy says he must never know what happens. If he finds out, he must be killed. So do you understand, Dolores? And she says yes.
It's too bad. Too bad they didn't have Catherine in this story. She could be.
I thought you were
with
talking
him
about
right
Janeway. I'm like, yeah, she would have just killed everyone. Yeah, but no, the girlfriend.
now. What? Miss Sakai.
Oh, but he's actually journaling this, saying he was inside the or remembers being inside the Mbari cruiser being tortured. And the Grey Council. Maybe. They said that before they surrendered, they must have blanked my memory and let me go. What was she doing
Why?
there? And why, yeah. What don't they want him to remember?
Why let him go? Why surrender when they're on the verge of total victory?
Yes, John, computer, erase that entire personal log.
Wrong series, John. There's a lot of that going around tonight. And Thomas demands another episode.
Oh, Thomas, I'm not gonna lie, that would be extremely tempting if I had another one queued up to do. But I
The next
don't.
one's a good one too. A lot of
And
people
thi-
have been asking for the next one.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, oh man, I should have been taking notes because this episode it raises so many interesting little things to get you thinking, and now I can't remember any of them. But there's so many interesting things going on here.
Well,
The fact that he
for
started to
one
remember
thing,
things.
these night guys, who are they?
Yeah.
Who sent them? Supposedly, there's some shadow element of the Earth government that supposedly may be in collusion with Minbari. That's what Garibaldi was saying at the end. So there's more shenanigans going on with Earth Gov.
Okay. Uh, one of the things I was thinking about why didn't Mbari have any idea about what was going on here? This is a lot of my speculation, but we saw that they have a lot of different gadgets at their disposal, and I wonder if whatever they were doing, or whatever they used to wipe his mind, if he started to remember, if that alerted them somehow. Uh, if Garibaldi is correct, and these people have some sort of affiliation with the Mbari, I wonder if it got back to Dolores that
I'm going to chuckle every time you say that.
I wonder if it got like I could see it getting back to her like, hey, these people maybe they gone rogue. We have this organization. Let's assume for the moment that Garibaldi's correct. So you got this organization. It's with Mbari. I could see as we got this other movement coming in that is being extremely xenophobic, maybe a people within the organization who are going, yeah, we do need to figure out what the Mbari were doing. Why did they surrender? This doesn't make sense. We're being subservient to them. We want humanity to be strong. And so they start to go rogue, and the most prime target of their attention is Sinclair because his existence doesn't make sense. He went to ram them. Somehow they stopped his ship. They tractor it in. They didn't know that. All they know is that he started to ram the ship according to his records. There's a flash of light. He missed. I mean, it's like Mulan. You're 3 feet away and you miss them. How could you miss? But he misses somehow, and instead he blacks out.
I don't think it's so much as missing, but being stopped. They essentially put him in a tractor beam, using a Star Trek analogy, and stopped his vessel and then pulled him into their docking bay.
Well, I was thinking from his official report, they wouldn't have known that. Because his official report was there's a flash of light, he blacks out, he wakes up 24 hours later. Right?
Right. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were going for.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about night 1 and night 2. What is their motivation for all this? So as far as they're aware, if there's any truth at all to what Sinclair is saying, and because that's super suspicious. Like I'm sorry, you did ramming speed and missed. you missed. And so like yeah, I can see how suspicious that would be. And then he just so happens to black out for the exact perfect amount of time to wake up and the war be over. And yet at the same time, he wasn't shot down. He blacked out and he wasn't shot down. So like I get why they're there. That's crazy suspicious. And then we gotta see those details filled in from our perspective today.
Well, they came on the station claiming that Sinclair was somehow in cahoots with Minbari to get some takeover ability of the humans,
Right.
get their foot in the door basically, and just basically take over in a different way instead of wiping out the humans, take them over.
Which does make me think Garibaldi's probably not on the right track. Like if they are working for the Minbari, why would they suspect Sinclair of working for the Minbari?
You're right, Tokyo. I meant cat boots. You're right.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm just going with it.
And Memphis the Sky was saying the sky full of stars was a reference to all the star furies exploding.
Yes,
okay.
and there was a line that was taken out of the pilot episode in the original 93 edition, and it was put back in for the special edition that was aired on TNT. The line was, "The sky was full of stars, and every star an exploding ship."
Was that the one we watched? Because I want to say
no, not on the live stream. You did watch it the next day or maybe the day after.
That's what it was.
Yeah. No, we had the original 93 edition on the stream.
And Josh is wondering if I'll get the next episode Star Trek actor. Probably not.
Okay. Yeah, Thomas says, shame on Jeff. I didn't get a Prodigy reference. I've only seen it once, Thomas. When did those air?
Was that Cat
ago?
Boots?
Must have been.
Which season 2 out in France?
Yeah, well, it was leaked. It wasn't supposed to go out.
Leaked. Even still, I'm surprised.
Or it was a mistake or something.
I'm surprised it hasn't been subbed and released on the high seas of your choice.
Well, I haven't gone looking because I don't do those sorts of activities, but
well, Yeah, I'm sorry. When I say high seas of your choice, I don't mean you specifically. I just meant like I I keep my ears open. I do. I'm interested in how all that works and the mechanics behind it, and I'm surprised that. I mean, I haven't looked hard, but I'm surprised that I haven't seen it out there yet.
Tokyo says he has not seen it either.
He said I did go
And
looking. Yeah, so I'm
and
surprised.
Thomas says we aren't criminals like you, Matthew.
Well, I got started at a young age crossing illegally, and ever since then, I had a taste for crime.
I knew that story was going to come up again today. So the headlines on the Universe Today newspaper: Psycor
Yes.
in election tangle. Psycor possibly violating its charter by endorsing
Ooh.
Vice President Morgan Clark in the last election. Is there something living in hyperspace? San Diego still considered too radioactive for occupancy. By the way, it was nuked in 2157.
Poor San Diego. It can't get a break no matter what sci-fi series it's in.
Another headline was Narns settle Rakesh 3 controversy. Remember,
Okay.
back to Midnight on the Firing Line.
And that was the don't sell the planet one, or don't give away the homeworld.
No, that was later.
I thought or was Rakesh 3 with Catherine? No.
No, that's the one where the Narn attacked the Centauri outpost.
With the nephew.
Second, with the nephew of Malari.
Okay.
And Thomas says Clark would probably have been a good president.
So the
I
headlines
wonder why
you read
you say
off.
that, Thomas.
I like all the I like the references we're getting there. Like the Psy-Corps violating their charter. We got a lot of that talk in, I think, Mind War. I want to say it was where
Well, that's
the
when we learned most about the Psy-Corps.
yeah, and the boyfriend made a point of talking about how they want to more or less take over the world. Be the perfect assassin and
Jason
yes.
Ironheart.
And then Rakesh 3, like you talked about, the Parliament of Dreams.
No,
then,
that was Midnight on the Firing Line.
Midnight on the Firing Lines. Yep. Okay.
the very first episode of the season. Yes.
Okay. And then San Diego. When have they mentioned San Diego yet?
No. At least I haven't seen any yet.
I mean, I say San Diego always gets it rough, but looking at real life, it's pretty rough as it is.
Now, the reason why San Diego was picked on by JMS is because he actually lived there for several years. So he put it in the story.
And then, I mean, San Diego, that's where Graham Bell wasn't it? The district Cisco went back to and became.
Is that San Diego?
Or was that LA?
It was San Diego. John, help us out here.
I know I'm looking in the comments waiting for him to chime in.
John says, was that in Midnight on the Parliament of the War Prayer Full of Stars? Yes, John, that was it.
And hey, Mega Reacts, how are you doing today? Tokyo Gaijin with the question mark. The Bell Riots.
San
Francisco. Wrong San. I should have known better. Hey, Gorillas.
I was pretty sure it was San Francisco. Didn't want to say if I was wrong, but thank you, John, for letting us know.
Tokyo is saying that
Tokyo's right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It is this. Everything's this year. I mean,
Card lands in LA this year. Orville lands in LA this year as well.
Yep, but the Orville
landed
in like a much nicer LA. than Picard landed in.
2024, the apex of temporal hell.
Frankly, I feel like the Bell riots. I could actually see that being something San Francisco does. Like actually put up
Well,
district
it's not too
walls.
far off. It's not too far off.
I mean, they've set themselves up to do this sort of extreme campingness, walling and ghettoing areas. I mean, we got a crazy
Well,
class system going on over there. It's nuts.
even in this city, we have a tent city.
It's true. Texas is getting a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah.
I was down in San Antonio. I think it was a year ago, and it was starting to get a lot of tents. Like I noticed that every single underpass I went by, just little tent cities. We got an issue going on, and I you wouldn't have thought DS9 would have gotten that right, but
Well, Tokyo says DS9 got it closer than Picard or Orville ever did.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd say so, Tokyo.
we got some stuff to fix. Mega React is saying that they're just editing SG1 on a break. Oh, very cool. I like SG1 a lot. Thomas might be wondering what
And
you mean SG1, but I know what you mean.
and Thomas, I'd be all up for doing another episode. You commented earlier that I wouldn't be, but I'd be all up for it. It's just I haven't done any research for it. Now, I'd be glad to do it as the episode plays.
Jeff is talented like that. I am not.
Professor, wasn't LA sunk in an earthquake in a few years from now, 2047? I believe that's correct. Star Trek reference there.
So, Sky Full of Stars. My guess, not the worst of my guesses, but also I can't say I was close.
Well, you were closer than Thomas gave you credit for.
I was close in that it wasn't the Earth Defense Force from what we know so far. But it was someone extremely patriotic. He definitely had the Sloan from Section 31. I think Mr. Lundell was talking or mentioning this in the comments. But yeah, he definitely gave me that Sloan sort of personality where it doesn't matter how many crimes he has to commit, provided the crimes he's committing strengthens Earth's chances or the government that he works for and believes in. Which is a fascinating take on a character. When you do that right, and as someone who doesn't have the belief that like, oh yes, I'm morally right, or not more like Sloan never thought he was not committing crimes. Sloan's stance was just like, oh no, we're allowed to commit crimes provided it's for the good of the Federation. I feel like that's a lot more of an interesting character than some chainsaw massacre person who just doesn't think they're doing anything wrong. Like to have them realize what they're doing is evil, but still be okay with it. Like that's a fascinating character to me.
It's all part of the Starfleet Charter.
Yeah. Um, there's another character, the Firefly movie. The main antagonist in the Firefly or Serenity was also like that. Yeah, Texas, exactly, or the operative in Serenity. He believed.
There you go.
He even had a line like, "I'm not a good person. I am not going to get to go to the paradise that we're creating." But he believed so much in it that he's like, the ends justify the means sort of character. Which I I find if you do that character right, they're a fascinating character to have in a show. So I was writing that as someone very patriotic, wrong in everything else. Next week, Deathwalker.
Ooh, now that's one people have been clamoring for.
Um,
And to be honest, I'm not up on it as much as those people. It's a good episode, don't get me wrong.
so Deathwalker has the same kind of name as Soul Hunter to me.
Okay, I can see that.
I want him. I want him to be a bounty hunter. Let's go bounty hunter. A Deathwalker, someone who I don't know. I don't know why that makes a connection in my mind, but to me, you got someone who's a Deathwalker. Maybe could be a bounty hunter type person. Um, what else could a Deathwalker be? Maybe a race we haven't met yet. There was an episode of Voyager that kind of had a creature that I might call a Deathwalker. It's the one where Janeway was on the verge of death, and her dad kept trying to get her to come into the light. Janeway, come into the light, and she's like, "No, my dad would never encourage me to give up like this. He'd tell me to fight to the bitter end." And it turned out that it was a race of aliens that eats life force or souls. They kind of were a little iffy on that. You know how Star Trek does. Is it a soul? Is it energy? Whatever it was, the aliens ate it. They'd prey on people who were about to die and convince them to embrace death, and by doing that, it gave them sustenance. So maybe it would be a creature like that. Someone who exists on death. It could also be like a poetic way of talking about an arms dealer. I'm gonna stick with the bounty hunter.
Bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Okay.
John's just saying,
Josh
just how much
Treat.
rope are you giving Matthew? He just has it on a spool. I pull it as fast as I can, you know.
Got some crackle there in your mic as you were doing that.
Oh, I popped it. Yeah. But yeah, he just gives me all the rope I need and want.
I have to, or I'd give things away.
And Thomas, Matthew made a perfect prediction. We'll find out next week.
We shall. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Jeff, any final thoughts from the episode as we wrap up tonight?
Well, I just think it was a fantastic episode. A lot of good acting in this one. And we get some of the backstory for Sinclair and what's going on with him. So not the full story. I think, I kind of liking how we're giving little pieces here and a little piece there of what's going on in this whole series. I like the pacing of it. You're not getting everything at once, but also they're not holding anything back in the end like some shows do. It's just the right mix, and it's doing well.
It was a good episode. The way Sinclair delivered his line about having to keep himself from strangling every Mbari he saw for years, he delivered it very well.
Ifley says, "Got to be patient. It pays off," and indeed, it does. Does it pay off?
I bet. I mean, just the care that they've taken.
Off. I can't wait.
They've taken so much care, and we've talked about this over on Discord, but one of my big complaints about New Trek is that they don't know how to write a plot over 7 episodes.
Oh,
like they introduced this mystery, and then in episode 3 or 4 they solve the mystery. And then they bring in a new one. I'm like, guys, it's 7 episodes. You should be able to carry this across and just a little drip feed. Where is this going? And they can't do it. Meanwhile, We're in episode 8 of 22. And they are just doing so good of dripping those plot points out and keeping you engaged. I'm loving it.
And it actually goes longer than that.
True. 22 episodes this season. Yeah.
And the story continues. It's just well paced. And Tokyo says, wonderful stream. You guys make this stuff so much better to watch. You got to do a show that sucks, and I guarantee it'll be a hit.
Well, you know, Michael and I, we used to do that on Friday nights.
Yeah, you did.
We would watch horrible movies. It was so much fun. Maybe someday we'll be able to start up again. I don't know what his schedule is like anymore. I know my schedule doesn't fit that because I do use stuff on a lot of Friday nights with my youth group. I'm a leader in my church's youth group, so but still, every once in a while it'd be great to do a movie night with Michael and just pick up one of those horrendous movies you'd find.
Well, so maybe you should do it like once a month or maybe once every other month or something. Just pick a night, do it.
Yeah.
But what got me is when you did a good movie.
Which one was that?
And then just in a lot of the Star Trek films.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, just rip it apart.
I only remember the bad stuff. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, Jeff, and thanks for everyone in chat for hanging out again. We will have fun next week watching Deathwalker, and y'all have a great time until then.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.